Hi, welcome back here on the Senior Network. We are now joined by Brian Tracy, attorney, elder law and estate planning center. Good to see you again, Brian.
Morning.
Well, Taylor and I, we've been talking about all kinds of things and raising money and funds and so forth like that and Alzheimer's care, but it really brought up the topic earlier we were talking about, the different levels of care.
Right.
And I know that you deal with that, so
Yes.
maybe educate us a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we deal with it in the office in practice of law in the sense that when clients come to see us, it's mainly families, the adult children, and they'll start talking about, how should I be planning for mom or dad or both, and what kind of, because at some point in time, they're going to need to go to a home because they're not doing very well.
Right.
So the general public, I think, sometimes doesn't understand fully the levels of care that are available in different locations or institutions, if you'd like to call them. We have independent living, and then we have assisted living, and then there's long-term care or skilled nursing. And there's probably some in between there, dementia care, for instance.
Right.
That's a different level of care. And individuals don't understand that. And of course, there's costs associated with those different levels of care. And then connected with that is the public benefits that might be available. And sometimes people think, well, my mom may need to go, she might want to go to the Cypress and live in assisted living, and then when her money runs out, she'll be able to qualify for Medicaid. Well, first of all, that's not the case because Cypress may not accept Medicaid as a form of payment.
Right.
And plus, Medicaid does not pay for assisted living in South Carolina. Maybe in other states,
Right.
They do have Medicaid that pays for assisted living, but we don't have that in South Carolina. So it's important for people to know when they're starting to think about either for themselves or the adult children thinking about how they should be helping their parents plan, is to understand that there are different levels of care outside the home. And this mainly comes into play when in this area of the country and in Beaufort County, when so many people live here and their children live back up in Minnesota or Massachusetts, someplace else, that they want to get a grasp, they want to help parents and get ready for it and be proactive and plan. But they don't understand that there are different levels. For instance, independent living. Independent living is you bring your car, you bring your furniture, you come and go as you want. But then again, there's assisted living. It's a different level of care. There's different assistance, and of course, there's nursing home care, and how you finance those and how you pay for all those. It's important to know, too, about the public benefits. We can go into that as well, but I think it's important that people plan and understand the different levels of care and do the other legal planning that comes with it. It comes up in the context of, well, what legal documents should we be thinking about? And that's not the whole story about legal documents. The other story is, well, what is your plan for taking care of your parents other than making sure their documents are in order?
Right. And I think a lot of it comes down to what the health situation is too when you get to that point. A lot of folks decide to stay in home. We talked about this earlier with in-home care.
Yes.
And that there are Medicaid resources for that type of care.
Yes, and veterans benefits too.
Exactly.
There's a veterans benefit that's available to the homebound.
Right.
That is not in veterans benefits. There's different levels of need, and then the stipend or the pension that you receive on a monthly basis depends on the level of care and the level of need that you have. If you're in the home, you're not going to get as much from the VA as you would if you were living in an assisted living facility.
Exactly.
Right, and so now Medicaid, unfortunately, doesn't really, there is a Medicaid program for in-home care.
It's a waiver,
but it's not. It's a waiver program, and it's not widely used, but it is available for families, and sometimes it is a lifesaver. It is a great resource to be able to access, but it gets complicated sometimes, as most Medicaid benefits do. As you mentioned previously about being complicated rules, and it does get involved. But we do our best to try to filter that out and explain to clients, because sometimes it's not Medicaid. Well, I could explain Medicaid rules and all the complications and all the loopholes all day long, but if you're planning that your parent is going to be going to an assisted living facility, it really doesn't help out very much because Medicaid doesn't pay for your assisted living facility. Now, veterans benefits, if either the parent, dad or mom, was a veteran, or even if dad was a veteran, and maybe he's passed and they're surviving, mom is the surviving spouse, she can access veterans benefits at all to pay for some in-home care and to also pay for the assisted living facility. Right. But it's not going to pay the long-term care facility, and all that gets pretty complicated sometimes trying to explain that and then plan for the future.
Well, that brings up a good point. So when you sit down, I know we're talking about you work on a lot of legal documents, wills, trusts, all these things, but do you actually get in the planning process with families about what they may want to do in those stages of independent assisted?
I want to talk to them and connect it to the financing and the legal documents,
Right.
because they feel very anxious that there's something that they must have to do right now. They need
Right.
to get started. And sometimes the answer is you're in a good position right now and you really don't have to do anything. People get very anxious. They think they need to set up trust and
Right.
maybe move money around and get the kids involved and having them hold some money for them, whatever it is that they have in mind. So that's where the discussion comes up about, you know, what they should be planning for in the future. Yes, we can set up a trust for you, but you know, if you're telling me that dad is at home with caregivers 24/7 and he's on the threshold of needing to go someplace else, setting up a trust is not the right tool to use, because it's a little too late in the game, if you will, to think about that. So that's how the discussion always arises in the level of care, is that people think that they need to do something. There's a lot of tools out there,
Right.
a lot of available to them, but I need to know from them what's the condition, what is the medical condition, and I wish we had a crystal ball.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we could
And every
figure out-
situation's different.
In every
Exactly.
situation,
Yeah.
a crystal ball to tell the future. So we do the best we can without the crystal ball, and then plan accordingly.
I understand. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, because I know we just crossed over into a new year recently, and you had been talking a lot about brain health.
We are talking about brain health. I think that it's important that we all try and stick to our New Year's resolutions. It's very important for brain health is body health. That's my new motto this year, the Mediterranean diet, making sure that you're going out and learning new things, like all of the wealth of information that I just learned from you. I wish I had been taking notes, because all of that's so important. Alzheimer's and dementia, when it strikes families, and particularly, it can cause fractures in family relationships. And so knowing that you have some direction, legal and financial, can make all the difference in the world in keeping families together. So that was amazing information. So yeah, New Year's resolutions, learn more about elder law has just been added to my list. But you know, it's really about trying to keep your brain as healthy as you are trying to keep your body. I've talked to a lot of people about this. If your body is healthy but your brain is not, you're really missing out on the best years of your life.
Wow, right. Great point. Great point. Brian, I know, and because you do a lot of educational forums, I know, and I'm very impressed by that. Do you bring in outside folks to speak with you, or is you guys do it yourself?
We do.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll bring in, the last time, or the one before that, we bring in a financial advisor,
Okay.
to discuss long-term care insurance. Now, I always tell in these workshops, when people want to come to the workshops and find out how to protect their money.
Right.
So we talk a little bit about that. But before I even get to that topic, I always, with clients when they come to me and they visit me, I always want to have a conversation with them, if they're interested in protecting their assets, what do they know about long-term care insurance? Because it can be a great help as well. But it's not for everybody.
Right.
And the traditional long-term care insurance that originated years ago was basically you sent out $6,000 or $7,000 a year for long-term care insurance policy, and you paid it basically until you passed, or if you actually had to use the policy and you needed long-term care. But these days there are different long-term care insurance products, and they're not the model where you pay one premium, you never see the money again, like you had car insurance.
Sure.
If you make a claim, you never see the money again.
Right.
But there are long-term care insurance products. I don't sell them.
Right.
I'm not licensed to sell them, but what we do is we'll bring in a financial advisor that is familiar with long-term care insurance, that can explain the differences in the new policies that have come out since they came in. The first policy maybe it was out maybe 30, 35 years ago,
Right.
that I recall. We do bring in financial advisors to come in, and maybe sometimes a social worker, like a geriatric social worker, to explain the different levels of care and the levels
Right.
of need. And that makes it of course, the workshop a little more interesting. Yeah, we have workshops that are scheduled throughout the year on our website at the Hilton at elderlaw.com. We list our workshops, and we invite anyone listening to go to that website and sign up for the workshop, because the biggest comment after people attend our workshop, they go on for 2 hours. But one of the most popular comments is, you need to go on more, because there's so much information you can't cover it in 2 hours.
Right.
You need to have it for 3 hours, or add some topics to
Sure.
it. And 3 hours is a little long. 2 hours is, for the most part, is enough. But public education is part of our practice. We have to advise people. It really helps out, and them coming to us and having that basic groundwork first to start talking and using the vernacular, because they'll know what the difference is between assisted living and independent living, and where they never knew the difference before, we'll use those words and those phrases. So the public education and the workshops that we give are helpful for the clients and helpful for us when they come in and they talk to us, because we're starting to talk on a more level
Brian,
plane.
thank you for doing those, by the way, because I know we learned a lot just today, right?
Right. I'm going to go check out the website. It's another reason to come down to Hilton Head.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks, Brian, for joining us again.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Taylor, it was nice to have you
Thank
today.
you.
Please take a moment, email us any comments, questions you may have, and thank you for joining us here on the Senior Network, where senior care experts come together. We'll see you the next time.